skipping school, book reading, and allergy to youth. Hello, I'm XUTT, and today I will be talking about about the never-ending story. Book, because we have today the 45th anniversary of the German premiere of the book, but of course also about 1984 movie adaptation and all other stuff related to the story of Bastian and Andreu. It all started on September 1, 1979, when the book Die undeliche Geschichte by Michael Ende was published by West German publisher Tienen Manuel. And it turned out to be quite a success. For example, it was at the top of the Der Spiegel bestseller list for 113 weeks and on the top 10 list itself for 332 weeks. An important and interesting thing that distinguished this fifth edition from many other books was the fact that it was printed using red and green text. Red color was used to represent the storylines which takes place in the real world, and green color was representing the events taking place in Fantastica. This edition also has illustration created by Rosinka Kwiatek. One of these illustrations was of a turtle named Morla, the aged one. So let's spend some time with her. She is the main reason why this universe was even on this channel. Morla appears in the third chapter of the book, titled Surprise! Morla the Aged One. At the beginning of the chapter, the purple buffalo informs Atreyu that he must find Morla the Aged One, a being older than all other beings. She lies in the middle of the swamp of sadness in Shell Mountain. Later, it turns out that the Shell Mountain is not really a mountain, but Morla herself. However, she is a nihilist devoid of interest and desire for anything, because she lived so long that she is indifferent for everything, including whether Fantastica survives or not. Atreyu manages to get important information from her. The fact that someone from outside Fantastica must give Cheese-like Empress a new name, and where the boy can find out who can do this. Morla's role in the books ends here. Later we have a mention of sheets of paper thin eating glass with drawing on them, including one that shows a woman of stone writing on a large turtle. It can be considered a reference to her. The English version, translated by Ralph Manheim, was published simultaneously in the United Kingdom and United States in 1983. The book has also been translated into many other languages. In the book, Beyond Babar, the European tradition in children's literature, in the text, The Reception of the Never-Ending Story, you can read that the book remains most successful in Germany and Japan, while the 1984 film tends to be better known among English-speaking audiences. And with this quote, we smoothly move on to the film. I myself fall into the second group from the piece quoted a moment ago. When I was young, I watched the film, and it shaped my idea of the story, the appearance of Atreyu, the Black Dragon, the whole world, in the movie named Fantasia, not Fantastica. As part of getting to know the important cultural creation, I started listening to the book in the form of an audiobook, so I was not aware of how much left until the end. And I listened. Bastian and Atreyu saved Fantasia, and the film ended there, so I expected audiobook to be over soon. But surprise, the plot continues, and I check how much I have left to listen to, and it turns out that I'm only halfway through. In this way, I learned that the film adapts only the first half of the book. I'm focusing on the turtles, so I won't do a solid analysis of the differences between the movie and the book. There's a pretty cool video on YouTube about this called The Neverending Story, book to movie comparison by Get Right On In. I will leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. Morla appears in this movie, but there is a lot of differences between her book and movie version, which is not surprising. One of the differences is fact that Morla known about Empress' illness she didn't know in the book. She also doesn't inform Atreyu that Empress needs to be given a new name. A thing with sneezing due to the allergy to yacht was also added. It was completely absent in the book. In the movie version, Morla also has a second appearance. Atreyu ends up in a place where he's seen graphics of his adventures so far, including the moment when he meets Morla. The author of the book himself, Michael Ende, approached the film version with not much enthusiasm, if that is what you can call it, because he even went to court demanding removing his name and the information that it was based on his book, but without success. The song Lima recorded for the movie has actually lived is online alongside the adaptation. It was quite popular in the 80s. It experienced a second youth, like several other songs from the 80s, thanks to its appearance in the series Stranger Things, where it was performed by Dustin and Suzy in the third season. The YouTube fragment with this thing has over 22 million views, so well, it's quite popular. It was also a bit of surprise for me to learn that the song was performed by Limahl not only in English, but also in French. Personally, it was only during the preparation for this recording that I learned that there is more than one film. The second part very freely adapts the second part of the book, and the third is a completely new story. The second and third movies don't have any turtle elements, but in the third part, the leader of the bullies is played by a very known actor/musician, Jack Black. And speaking of acting, almost all of the main characters, Atreyu, Bastian, the cheese-like Empress, Bastian fathers, are played by different actors in each part they appear in. Only the Antiquarian is played by the same actor in the first and the second part, but in the third also by a different one. The explanation is of course the production cycle. The first film came out in 1984, the second in 1990, and the third in 1994. So all the three characters were too old to return. Some trivia. The actor who plays Bastian in the second part also played one of the kids, Bill Denbrock, an important character in the first adaptation of Stephen King's It. That series is also quite turtleish, but the miniseries in which he played also does not have turtle elements, like the Neverending Story Chapter 2 did not have them. Right after the third and so far the last live-action film, we got an animated adaptation. In the years 1995 to 1996, we got 26 episodes describing various stories of Bastian in Fantasia. The turtle elements appear only in the fourth episode. Although it is called Mora's Wish, there is a little of Mora herself in this episode. The next adaptation is the 13-episode miniseries Tales from the Neverending Story, published in 2001 to 2002. It was also released as 4 television films, and that's how I watched it. I had the first one on VCD a long time ago, and I've only just got none of the whole things for this video. This adaptation is very loose. It introduces many additional characters like Bastian's friends or the cheese-like Empress sister. In the television movies version, in episodes 2 and 3 we have turtle elements, although as far as I remember, Mora's name is not mentioned. But there is a turtle that the characters consult. Apart from personal visits, we also have a scene in which a map with turtle is visible. Maybe there is more turtle scenes in the 13 episode version, I can't say anything for sure. Now it's time for some things that should be mentioned, but which I personally have no experience with. The first is the 6 additional books. In 2003-2004, the series Legend of Fantastica was released in Germany. Each of the books used parts of the original plot and characters, but presenting a new original story. Earlier, I quoted a statement that the original book was most successful in Germany and Japan. The publishing history of these additional 6 books seems to confirm this perfectly, because only in 2 languages did we get a complete set of 6 volumes. In addition to German, in which they were released, we also got a Japanese translation. In addition, the first 3 volumes were translated into Spanish and first 2 into Greek, but apparently they were not accepted enough for the publishers to decide to continue publishing. According to Goodreads, there are other languages we did not get an English edition, neither did Polish, and these are the only 2 languages I know, so I could not check these books properly. I only looked up them with the search option for the name Mora. It does not appear, so at this point we can probably consider them turtles. This universe also received 3 games, and rather older ones. And by older, I mean 1985, when the first one came out, a text adventure designed for platforms such as ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC, Commodore 64, and Atari. In the description attached to the game, there is some info about Mora. In the maps that can be found on the internet, there are also locations related to her. However, on various walkthroughs on YouTube, I was unable to find a fragment with her. The second game came out in 1990, together with the second film, the plot on which it was based on. It was intended for Amiga, Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, and DOS. In this part, judging from watching gameplays and the fact that it's based on the second film, Mora was not present. The latest game is Aurin Quest, listed in 2002, designed for Windows system. It is a very loosely connected first-person action 3D platformer, as far as I know, without any Mora or turtle involvement. There were movies, TV series, games. Now time for theater, because Neverending Story made it there too. The novel was adapted in 2007 to stage by David S. Craig. In this version, Mora appears. The details, as in the theater, depends on the performance. As part of the West Coast premiere, Seattle Children's Theatre, we had this more usual version, where in the Stratford Festival, Avon Theatre, we have a version created by, quote, many performers holding green glowing sexual shields, move as a choreographed group until forming a dome-like shape. Then emerged the green head of Mora. This is Mora from the Lincoln High School Theatre Department, and this one is from Arts Live Theatre. We also have the version from the Dallas Theatre Theatres or the version from the field stage. Of course, this is probably only the tip of the iceberg. Unfortunately, theater performances are not films, access to them is definitely more difficult. Musically, we have bands that refer to the world of Neverending Story. The most obvious ones will be these with names directly from this world, such as Atreyu, USA metalcore band, or Aurin, Spanish boy band. Or the most interesting to me, Spanish indie rock band, Vetusta Morla. We also have the band Listener and their album Wooden Heart, where the songs were inspired by Neverending Story and the song titles have their alternative version, where for falling in love with glaciers, the alternative title is Morla Tortoise Shell Mountain. Now, toys and other stuff. This is not a category in which I have a lot to say. Looking around the net allowed me to find only some figurines, plushies with Japanese tags and a German language board game. There are also figurines from Shit Toys Company, but this is not official stuff. And speaking of unofficial stuff, various fans have created Funko Pop customs of the main characters, but we haven't received official figurines. The closest to the official Funko Pop is the Susie figure from Stranger Things, from the previously mentioned scene with singing a song from the movie version of Neverending Story. In 2022, as part of the LEGO Ideas program, where fans can submit their own construction, and when they receive 10,000 votes of support from the community, they have a chance to become official set. The FaceBricks app work based on Neverending Story was included in the group meeting the condition. However, it did not reach the proper review stage. It was removed due to copyright issue, which probably suggests that the owners of the rights to the brand said no to this whole idea. That's all about what was. Now a short word about what may be. In March 2024, a few months ago, information appeared that this book was to receive a film reboot in the form of a series of live-action features. But that's it for now. No more information. We'll see. Many things have been announced and never appeared. I'm of course cheering for the project. It's always a big chance for more tools presence in culture. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. If you like and subscribe if you liked it, and I hope to see you again in next video. Bye!